Okay, frame 11 on the sailing ship Trojan. This frame needs a little work. So here's what we're going to do. You can see we have half of the frame drawn. This over here, I'm not worried about it right now. We'll get to it. But this half of the frame, I originally drew this with historically correct molded scantlings. That's the inside to outside frame width. However, at 1/96 scale, this gets to be a little difficult to deal with. So since we're not going to see the built-up frame inside the hull once it's finished, I'm going to get rid of those scantlings and just use 24 inches from inside to outside. So here's how we're going to do this. I want to keep this area. This is what you're going to see above the deck. This is historically correct. So we're going to go over here, going to trim from this line, and we're going to get rid of everything below there. I know what you're thinking. You really screwed it up now, because now you don't have the inside of your frame. Very simple though. We're going to offset. Going to do 24 inches. All right, and this is how it happens. Boom, just like that. Now, oddly enough, we're just about ready to create the other side of the frame. Still got a lot of work to do here, but it's only going to take just a few minutes with the magic of computers. Now this area right here, this is where the kelson is going to sit. This notch under here, this is where the keel is going to sit. This is where the kelson is going to sit. What I'm doing right now is just cleaning up the edge right there. And for right now, we are now going to mirror all of this. Select all these lines that we want to mirror over to the other side of the grid. And look at that. Alright, now one thing that I want to do, and that's where these lines come in on each side. This line, that is where the bottom edge of the deck beam meets the outer part of the frame. Okay? This line is where the upper edge of the deck beam meets the outer side of the frame. What I want to do, instead of having these straight lines, this is basically just a reference line for this intersection point right there and right there. I want to have a curved line because the curve of the deck beams has a curve on the top edge of it and a corresponding curve on the bottom edge. Okay, this mark right here, let's look at this. This line right up here, that is the upper edge of the deck beam at the center of the deck. The one down here, this line right here, that is the upper edge of the deck beam at the side. You notice that there's a difference in height. That's because the deck beam is higher in the middle and lower on each side. That allows for water to run off the deck. This line is the bottom edge of the deck beam at the side. So here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to take this reference line. This is the upper edge of the deck beam at the center of the hull. I'm going to bring it over here to the center. Right, it intersects the center line there, and we're going to draw an arc, 3 points. Let's move this back over there like that. You see? All right, now I'm going to do a 3-pointed arc. Start on this side. I love drawing arcs. They're easy. Looks complicated, but once you figure out how it's done, there we have it. This is the curve of the upper edge of the deck beam that would occur at this point in the hull. Now, you see the difference. Now we have this curved versus the straight edge. We don't need the straight edge anymore because all it was there for was to highlight this intersection right there. See, that's all that straight line was there for. We don't need that, so we're going to get rid of it. Just like that. Now, in order to find the lower edge of the deck beam, we're going to offset that line. Whoops. Looks like we did something wrong. Let's try it again, shall we? We're going to offset. There we go. 12 inches. Just like that. See, basically, we offset this line by 24 inches earlier. Now we're offsetting this line by 12 inches now. And the only difference is I want the outer end of this to reach out there. That's all. That's the only change that we're going to make on each side. See there? Just like that. Now, let's save that. And now, just like with the upper edge, with the lower edge, we don't need these straight edges now, or the straight lines. There we've got it. Okay, now on the upper edge, I want to trim this line right there between the inner edge of the stanchion on that side and the inner edge of the stanchion on this side. All right, watch this. Look at that. You see there? We've got that upper edge. That's all I wanted out of it. Right there, and you can see it's a curved line, and we're going to see the same thing over here. Now, for the lower line, I'm going to repeat the trim. I want to trim this line between the inner edge of the frame here and the inner edge of the frame there. All right. And I also want to get rid of this line here because on either side doesn't do us any good. All right, now, and just to clean this up because we don't need this line right here, and we don't need it on this side either. Okay, how about that? We're just about there, almost. Going to get rid of this grid, and now we want to work on these two notches. This notch is where the frame fits over the keel. This notch right here is where the kelson on the inside of the hull fits down. Now, I've made some changes in the scantlings, and that means that we have to go back over, and if you look here, this line right there, this is the upper edge of the keel. Okay? So what I need to do, we're going to just take this over here, and you can see there's a difference. We need, there we go, we need a deeper notch. So we're going to extend the edges. Wonder why that's not working. Let's try her again, shall we? There we go. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to draw in another upper edge, and we can get rid of this line. So now I have the new notch, and this is the center line of the frame. Get that out. We have a new notch that will fit properly on the keel. All right. Also, now back over here, this line right here, That's the lower edge of the kelson. The kelson wants to sit down into a shallow notch in the frame. Now, and you can see I'm bringing this is the reference line. We're bringing it over here to show me where we want that new line to occur, the bottom edge of that notch. Okay, let me just show you what I just drew there. You can see, first of all, we can get rid of this. This is a very shallow notch. In fact, at the scale of the model, it might not even be noticeable. What I'm going to do, though, is we're going to extend the center line. That's a reference line. We need it. Over here, just to be neat and tidy, I'm going to trim off these sections like that. Okay. So the kelson, 24 inches wide, is going to sit down into this notch. As I said, at the scale of the model, 1/96, let's just measure. What is that depth? Lord have mercy, it's not even 1/4 of an inch. So it's probably not going to be noticeable. This notch here, this will be noticeable. This needs to fit correctly. The keel, it is a scale 18 inches wide, and if the frame's going to work in the hull properly, it needs to be a good fit. So we've done that. Here's the rest of the frame. You can see this is the bottom edge of the deck beam. What's going to happen here on each side, if there's a deck beam there, and there will be, it will fit right along that curve, the bottom edge of the deck beam. And because there's going to be kind of like a shelf there, it's going to have plenty of landing to hold that deck beam in place. This line here is the top of the deck beam on both sides, and then this area from that line up, you're going to see that, and that's why it needs to be thinner. It's got to come down to a scale size that will look right. This area down here, I'm not really that concerned. I do want this to be a uniform dimension on each frame. That'll make sure that when we put the kelson in to hold the frames down, when we do other stringers, build stringers that will occur right around in this area, all of that will lay neatly. There'll be a lot of contact all along the length of the hull on the inside. So, this is frame 11. I'm going to put the body line grid back in place. We're going to need it. Got some other frames to work on. I'm just going to save this right like that, and there we have a completed frame. See you later.